Right now, hundreds of families are living in fear, all because of this. A train derailed, leaking chemicals, and now many people are concerned for their safety. Well, thanks for joining us tonight at 5, everybody. I'm Yolanda Harris.
And I'm Andrew Kinsey. Just minutes ago, we received new test results for the water in East Palestine, where that train derailed. So far, the EPA says it is all clear. But Democratic leaders say they are concerned about the derailment and its impact. TTV's Brittany Bailey was there when lawmakers met earlier this afternoon. She's live tonight with their focus. Brittany.
Well, Andrew, those Democratic state leaders got together with local agencies to come together and try to figure out what they might be able to do to help. So at the meeting this afternoon, there were state lawmakers, there were reps from environmental groups, nurses, first responders, and the American Cancer Society. The goal was to figure out what can be done and what should be done in the wake of that train derailment. Now, there are concerns about the short-term impact and the long-term impact on both the environment and the health of the people who live there. The goal is to come up with some possible legislative solutions, but also some ways these leaders can advocate for action to both the governor and the federal government.
What we're looking at is as a town that is, and the citizens of this town that are being hit with a big question mark. Not only whether the water is safe to drink, whether the air is safe to breathe, whether or not it's really safe for them to return home just now, because while we're getting reports that things are fine, do we really know that they are? Do we know what the long-term effect is going to be?
Well, speaking of that long-term effect, there have been plenty of questions about that from the people who live there. And so I went to an OSU professor today who specializes in indoor environmental air quality to get some answers about those chemicals.
Now people are able to come back to their homes, and there's still a lot of open questions in terms of what happened in terms of the chemical release into the environment, where those chemicals went, and how long they're likely to persist for.
CBS News did a breakdown of some of the chemicals that were on board that train that derailed in East Palestine and their impacts. First up is the vinyl chloride. The colorless gas is used to make PVC and is linked to an increased risk of a rare and deadly form of liver cancer. Officials worried that the burn would lead to hydrogen chloride in the air, but as of Monday, there had been no detections of vinyl chloride or hydrogen chloride in the homes screened. Then there was butyl acrylate. It's a combustible liquid that can cause irritation to the eyes, skin, and upper respiratory system. One train car was carrying it and lost its entire load in the derailment. A Cincinnati city manager memo showed low levels of it were found in the Ohio River downstream from the incident. Ethylhexyl acrylate is used to make plastics and is possibly carcinogenic to humans. The one train car that was carrying it was breached, and the amount of product still in the car was marked as pending. And finally, there was benzene, a colorless liquid used in making plastics. It is both a carcinogen and a mutagen, meaning it can cause genetic mutations. Benzene was not actively being carried on the train, but there was residue from past shipments.
A lot of these chemicals are fairly short-lived in the body, and so they don't tend to persist. They don't tend to persist in the food chain either, like some other chemicals do. So the environmental assessment is probably the most important thing that the EPA can measure to also make sure that they can help prevent these exposures from occurring in the first place.
Now, we did have an online update, the newest one that I saw being yesterday from the EPA, showing that the EPA is still doing 24-hour monitoring of community air. That means outside in the community for possible chemicals of concern. They're also still doing some indoor air community concern or indoor air testing for people who live in homes in the area. Reporting live at the State House, Brittany Bailey, 10 TV News.